In past years, the energy efficiency programs like home energy reports and similar programs were a separate silo from the customer engagement, customer satisfaction, high bills, call center, etc. were separate. But they're coming together because the increasing adoption of electric vehicles and solar and batteries, which was practically excluded in the energy efficiency segment, is now becoming important. So if you were to take out all the solar and electric vehicle owners and very soon battery owners from the whole ecosystem of serving the energy efficiency, specifically behavior energy efficiency, you won't be able to serve almost 40-50% of your customers. Now that is not acceptable because then you reduce the performance of those programs dramatically. And the third piece that is also getting added to this is the behavior load shift. So we see a trend where two of our very large customers, one in West Coast and one in East Coast, is insisting on adding load shifting messages in the home energy reports. Why is it important? It is important because if you have 3 different messages going to customer, they may clash with each other. Let's take an example. If I buy an electric vehicle and if my utility does not know that I've bought an electric vehicle, my consumption is going to shoot up and I'm going to look as extremely inefficient. And when I get that report, I obviously know what's wrong with that and I'm going to discard. I'm not only going to discard that report, I'm going to discard every single message that comes from my utility after that because I've lost faith or trust because they don't know who I am. If we already know who has electric vehicle, when are they charging, the same home energy report will now show that you are using more energy, but we know that you have an electric vehicle. We put a positive message for the customer for buying an electric vehicle and compare that to similar homes. And now we have solved multiple problems in one shot. We increased the customer engagement, we offered a special rate for EV, and we served the home energy report in a more fair and acceptable manner. So there is a very obvious use case of bringing all of these applications together in one bunch. When they see that one platform can provide multiple solutions which are consistent with each other and they only have to share the data once, and from a consumer perspective, not only these are consistent messages, they are also integrated into the same touch point. If Comcast or T-Mobile or someone sends me like 8 emails in a month, it sounds odd. But now my utility PG&E has 4 vendors who are trying to serve me for 4 different use cases. And if they send me 4 or 5 different messages, that's also a problem. In our experience, we have signed multiple enterprise level contracts where our prior programs have expanded from 1 or 2 use cases to 3 or 4 use cases, all coming into one combined integrated customer messages. What we are seeing is that most of the programs of electric vehicles, specifically around the load management of electric vehicles, we see most utilities running very small scale pilots. There was an expectation that many of these projects and programs are coming at scale, but we are seeing that it is a very, very slow pickup. Mostly they are experimentation with between 50 to 200, 300 cars at most. And these experiments are done in a fashion where they're just getting their feet wet on, can I recruit customers? Can I control the cars? Is this technology working? However, one of the notice we see also is wherever they are going to scale, they are concerned about the cost of the program at scale. Can I offer $200 to every customer for getting access to their car, but only 5 to 10% of them are actually contributing to the load shifting, which means my overall cost per car is not $200, it's $2,000 because 90% are free riders today. Now that situation will change when we have 10% adoption and the technologies or business models will change. But as of today, there is a huge amount of free ridership. So the current pilots don't really scale to the high volume without a certain amount of targeting. Second part, we see that there is only about 10 to 20% of adoption of cars. Not everybody hands over the keys of their car to the utility for $100 or $150. So the overall coverage of utilities in their ability to manage the cars is only 20%. And I think as the market scale, these 2 limitations will have to be taken care of in order to be at scale in a cost-effective manner. Distributed intelligence means at some point in the past generation meters, the data was measured by meters and sent back to the cloud. And then whatever happened was in the cloud. Then this next generation meters have the ability to actually compute something inside the meter. So think of this as your iPhone. Your iPhone or your Android phone or your mobile phones can actually compute something on the phone itself. Similarly, these meters have put in more compute power and more storage power to some extent inside the meter. Some real-time calculation can be done. One of the examples of that we have launched recently in the market in collaboration with one of the leading meter manufacturer is that our code is sitting inside the meter, and when the customer starts charging the car, we can figure out right there within less than 20 seconds that the customer has started charging the car. In the past generation, that data would have transferred to the cloud at the end of the day, and you only know next day that the customer charged their car in these specific peak hours. But now with this real-time technology sitting on the grid edge or distributed intelligence, we now know in real time that the customer has started charging the car. We also know the ability to see whether this is in the area when it's peak time or not. And we also know whether this is sitting in an area of what you call congestion. You can then control the car in real time because you know. The beauty of it is also is that you did not always ask customer for access to their car. Because if you ask customer for access to their car, you can monitor it, but not everybody is giving you access. But the meter access is in 100% control of the utility. So with this grid intelligence, with 100% accuracy and coverage, the utility now can figure out what's happening in real time and take real time actions.